Yes. Okay. So, a little bit about me. I'm an infectious disease doctor. I work at the hospital in Columbia, Johns Hopkins Medical Center. I'm an internal medicine board certified and infectious disease board certified physician. I've also created Very Young Wellness, which I'm the owner and CEO. Part of that came from the realization that there's so much chronic disease. Um, all the people that I see in the hospital, um, it, we're seeing them too late. We're seeing them when everybody is already, literally everybody has hypertension, diabetes, CKD, PAD. I mean, there's a lot of acronyms right there, but just to say that everybody is so sick, our society has gotten so sick, and whether that's the way we eat, whether lack of exercise, it's impossible to know all the factors, but, you can go into, plastics and, hormones, and you can go into many directions. But a lot of it, I think, has to do with diet, and lack of exercise. So with that, my mission is to try to take, you know, people, women and men, um, kind of impact their lives a little earlier in their 40s and maybe early 50s so that they don't get to, being 70s and have all these chronic disease. So that's kind of like the background of how this all started. So that being said, the slides are called tiny. You can't really see a whole bunch there, but as far as like gaining weight, it really is complicated. It's not like, oh, overeating and not enough exercise. I think there's a lot more into it than we realize. So I'm not going to go into all the mechanisms and all that, but I found this slide which I found fascinating. It goes, the first part is, essentially the food intake is driven by hunger, and that's how it should be. And then you should get you should reach satiety, and that should be the end of it. But like it turns out, obviously, other factors that play into it. So the hedonic hunger, food intake is driven also by certain habits, emotions, your different senses. You smell something, you eat it not because you're hungry, but you just eat it because it smells so good. Your lifestyle, you go out, friends cook this amazing dinner, you can't say no. Like all these things play into why we eat and overeat. But one of the things that intrigued me about this slide, and I try to blow it up there, is that now we understand that there is a microbiota driven hunger. So microbiota is a term that basically refers to all the gut germs that are in our body, in our gut. So there's like trillions of bacteria there. And I'm an infectious disease doctor, so I love bacteria, actually. I know most people hate it, but I actually love it. And so there we need our microbiome. We need it to be very diverse, because the lack of diversity is what seems to be causing a lot of problems. And so it was very interesting to see that this was actually this was just published in January of 2025, and this was the physiology of hunger. Is published in the New England Journal of Medicine, which is a major internal medicine journal. But it was just very interesting to see that essentially the microbiota can have direct effect on hormone controlling the hunger. It also controls some of the peptidomimetics and some of the peptides that are in our gut, including the GLPs, which you probably are familiar because it's on the news and all that. Some of the peptide YY and CCK. So these are all like different gut hormones, gut peptides that are impacted directly by these microbiome, these germs. And so it's not just, oh, you're overeating. Like it seems to be more complicated than what it appears. So I just found it fascinating that not only do we have to fight with our, you know, senses, we have all these things to worry about and feed our microbiome in a proper way so that we can be healthy from the inside out. So, and then I just wanted to touch base a little bit on the fructose piece because I think that has a lot of um, um, implications. So it could be that we think, well, if you increase your energy intake, so if you basically eat a lot, not exercising, you're not spending your energy, that leads to an excess, that leads to your ATP levels, which is our cell batteries being topped off, and then that leads to excess storage fat, which then leads to obesity and metabolic syndrome. But Richard Johnson proposed a new mechanism that takes into account the fructose metabolism, which fructose, if you know anything about it, is in table sugar. And so it's part glucose, part fructose. It's in fruits, it's in high fructose corn syrup. So it's pretty much ubiquitous right now. But fructose, it's really hard to metabolize. The liver can't really process it the same way that it processes glucose. And so that impacts, so fructose metabolism impacts your mitochondria and the way essentially so mitochondria are the cells that, the little battery cells, so to speak, that provide you with all this energy. And so if the fructose metabolism affects your mitochondria, then affects your ATP, lowers your ATP, then you have no energy, and then it blocks the breakdown of fat. So it just has this, crippling effect on all the metabolism. Then it activates a survival pathway, similar to hibernating bear, like in the summer, eats a lot of fruit and honey and whatnot, ton of that, gains a lot of fat, and then in the winter goes and hibernates and lives off of that fat. But it activates this survival pathway that increases your hunger, your thirst. You don't have this satiety, increases leptin resistance, it decreases your energy metabolism, causes insulin resistance, and that term will come up a lot. It causes inflammation, and then all that stuff eventually will lead to increase in basically a lot of the obesity and some of the chronic disease that I see every day in the hospital. And it breaks my heart because it's years making. It's not something that happens in a day or two. It happens in a decade or maybe 2 decades, and it's an accumulating problem. And that's why sometimes it's like, well, if you want to start in your 80s to get better, it's a little late. Start earlier. So, and it was alluding to earlier, fructose is pretty much in table sugar, and high fructose corn sugar, but it's also in fruits. So, I mean, nowadays, I think we eat fruits almost with every meal, if not every meal, but it's very common to eat fruits on a daily basis. Back in the day, we didn't. We would just have ripened fruits during certain seasons, right? Like we wouldn't have bananas and oranges and grapes and everything like on a daily basis. So I'm not saying that eating fruits is bad, um, but maybe drinking a lot of fruit juice might be a big problem because you're eating all that, you're drinking all that glucose and fructose together. So, and the high fructose corn syrup, as you may know, you're here because you probably know more than the rest of the population, but it's in everything. It's in, if you want to go to the grocery store and do a challenge and look on every label, it's even in bacon. And you're like, I'm just gonna have some meat. Okay, well, why do they have to put sugar in bacon? Well, it's used as a preservative, so that's why. So then it's like it's really hard to stay away from this. So you have to make an effort. And most people will not because they don't even know about the implications. So shifting gears a little bit towards obesity and menopause. So what happens is that as you age and as you get into menopause, you start getting increased abdominal fat, which leads to insulin resistance, which then also leads to diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and of course increases inflammation, which leads to more cardiovascular disease. So it's like this um, um, kind of like circle of one leads to more, and then here we go. We just got thank you. Um, so what some of the causes? Well, it turns out as we age, our estrogen goes down, which that by itself causes insulin resistance, and it's no different for men. They're not spared, but low testosterone can also lead to insulin resistance. Abdominal obesity can cause it. So again, it's like this vicious cycle of one can cause the other, and metabolic syndrome, which is a constellation of a few things like high blood pressure, triglyceride, um, again, insulin resistance, fructose metabolism by itself can cause insulin resistance. Aging muscle mass loss, I think that's a very big one. As we age, don't exercise enough, then our muscle, instead of being nice, lean muscle, ends up being not so lean. So almost like marble muscle. If you ever go to the store and get that nice looking Wagyu beef, well, that's might be tasty, but technically that's really bad for our body if that happens to us. It looks like this. There you go. She's got yeah, so sleep disturbance can cause insulin resistance, anxiety, depression. So I thought this was a really nice graph because it's so like telling. So in perimenopause, it's great. You exercise. If you have a little extra weight, no problem. You exercise out of it, or you diet out of it, and you drop it really fast. But then in the 40s and 50s is like no matter what you do, something is really not working. So and that's because your estrogen goes down, and then that causes your again causes insulin resistance, causes your cholesterol to go up, causes your abdominal fat, so that visceral fat, um, causes your weight to increase. Then you start having less lean muscle. Then you start having problems with insulin secretions, and your metabolism goes down. Then you have all this cardiovascular disease, and you have sleep issues, and your bone density goes down. You have osteoporosis and osteopenia. So there's all these metabolic changes that are happening in menopause that are really kind of against us, so to speak. And this is a little of the same, but essentially, as your hormones go down, your body composition goes more towards fat and less lean mass. Your energy expenditure goes down, and then you start having all these cardiovascular issues, insulin resistance, sleep disturbance. So, very very scary when we look at it. It's like, well, it looks like
soon. It doesn't new, but we're here to tell you there's hope.
There's hope for sure.
Fight it on 3 levels. We can do supplementally, and yeah.
Absolutely. So, men are not spared of some of the changes. Like so, they decrease their muscle, overall their muscle goes down, which can go back into like insulin resistance, weight gain. They have lack of energy, motivation, and they work out less, and it's all tied in. Some of the things I already mentioned, they have increased body fat, particularly around the stomach. I don't know if, I mean, that kind of happens to a lot of people. They just start having substantial obesity, and they're like, well, I work out, or but it might also be because their testosterone is going down. So that might not be just working out and eating right. May not still be enough, but again, it's all these moving parts. So we already talked about insulin resistance and obesity, so I'm gonna skip that. Um, and then as far as not so much like menopause or andropause, but just in general aging, you start having all these things like again, high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, memory loss, arthritis, you name it. And part of it. Yeah, right. So the goal is really to, I mean, this is gonna happen, I mean, it's gonna happen to all of us, but it's how do we live our life? Do we want to live our life with disease, chronic disease, and being in all the time, and then having insulin for management of diabetes and taking like a bunch of pills? No, nobody wants that, right? So the time to make some changes is now, in their 40s, 50s, and even if you're in your 50s, it's not too late, it's still time. But exercise is one of the most important aspects of health, because you really want that muscle. You want to build that muscle. If you lose muscle, it's pretty much okay. Think about it as if you have this, let's say, little old 80-year-old who comes, like breaks, trips on something, breaks her hip and can't get up, and then it's kind of like game over, ends up in the hospital, hip replacement or whatnot, nursing home. It's all downhill. I've seen it so many times, and it's so sad. And if they would be fit, have muscle to actually not even falling, not even tripping in the first place. So it's all about training your body. And it's, exercise is not so much the way I do exercise. It's not for like, oh, I just want to lose a couple pounds to look good. No, it's like train your body to, help you with longevity. Like, what do you want to do when you're 80? Do you want to go hiking and play with your kids, like grandkids or whatnot? Or do you want to be, bedridden in the hospital? Nobody wants that. But to get there, you have to put in the effort now. So,
what she's saying, and the reason we're here is you have to build a foundation. And so you have to have foundational strength. You have to be functional. So when we have small group personal training here, the reason we have it set up so that we do a cardiovascular warm up is to address that. Cardio is not nearly as important as strength training is as you get older, for a myriad of reasons. I mean, you've got, in order to not lose muscle, which is the natural progression, you've got to continue to train those muscles to be stronger, to break that muscle tissue down, to rebuild. And so we focus on the cardiovascular brief. We go into functional training. If you guys who have taken sessions here, we throw balls, drag tanks across the room. That's why we have all this turf, is that we do things that you do in everyday life. Everything is life applicable. And then we move into traditional strength and then mobility. We always with mobility and flexibility, which is what the missing component in most people's training regimens. So they'll go and get, and a lot of you guys, you all work out, right? But sometimes you negate that stretch. You might be like, okay, 10 seconds here, 10 seconds here, sounds good, let's go. And that's one of the most important parts as we get older, because otherwise we lose that range of motion. I mean, I'm only 5'1", so I have to crawl on my cupboards and everything to get to the shelves. There's no way I can do that. I'm like constantly training my body, be able to do those things.
Well said. So, all right, just gonna move on a little bit. I think this is kind of the same theme, so I've kind of said those things already. So, okay, now what can we do about it? And so, it starts with exercise. I couldn't say better what you just said, basic. And for me, it's like, I just need to make it fun. Maybe I don't start from, it took me literally like probably 3 weeks to even do that. Like, because you start doing like, oh my God, but like, it doesn't work. You just have to keep at it. You just have to keep at it. So, basically, our goal will be to do regular exercise to reduce visceral fat, improve insulin sensitivity, and then also that can actually help with hormone, including testosterone and like growth hormone. So I put that there. That's AI generated, by the way.
She's definitely taking some additional.
The reason why I put that there is because I hear this all the time. I tell women, you need to do strength training and build muscle. Oh, I don't want to get bulky. I'm like, what? No, like, you know how long it takes to put on any little muscle? I've been working out, what, like a good, consistently 6 months. I barely have any muscle. So,
Well, I'll give you a really good example. This is a good example. I was teaching at Lifetime, and I had a group, and you can relate this. I had a group of women, all which were much larger than me, and I'm up there and I'm packing on the weights, and so I'm lifting like 10 times more weight than anybody in the room. And then I was like, why don't you just put a little more weight on? And they're like, oh, I'm afraid I'll get big. And I'm like, and then somebody in the corner laughed, like, oh, you're already big. Yeah, but I mean, it takes a lot of supplemental things that none of us are versed with to get the kind of muscle that would be fit like that. You're just gonna tight muscle is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And again, strength training, personal training if you can. I mean, that would be obviously ideal. But I hear this all the time. Well, I don't have money for the gym. I don't have money for this. I don't have okay, free to just follow along something. And if that's not in the budget for you, okay, well, how about just some free walking?
Well, medications and doctor's visits cost a lot more probably, and that's gonna be forced into the budget.
But it's mindset of, like just it's more comfortable to not do anything. And so, like they don't even want to start even with the basics. So I'm just like when I see people in my practice, I'm just telling them, no, like you need to do something. So then I tell them, okay, well, let's say that you went to the hospital because you had appendicitis, okay? And then you get a complication and you end up in the hospital bed for 10 days. What do you think is going to happen to that muscle? It's going to melt away. we're gonna get like at least 3 pounds of muscle wasted in just 10 days of laying around. So, I mean, if that's not a wake up call to people, I don't know what it is. So, but yeah, just start doing something. And I love that she made these habit trackers. I love them. You know, it's all about habit making.
Well, we just, yeah, and you guys are wrapping up, but these are the I think it's eight daily habits that I feel make the biggest difference in longevity. And as you'll see, it doesn't say calorie restriction. It doesn't say like spend an hour in the gym. It's more about having an attitude of gratitude, taking time to breathe or journal or do whatever it is that centers you. And those things become more and more important as you get older, because it is really frustrating to face the challenges that aging throws at you.
Right.
And nobody really tells you, probably a good thing. So because you'd be like, oh no. But these habits, if you can adapt one at a time, we were in the middle of a winter wellness challenge where week 1, we focused on one habit, like the biggest self-limiting habit that you have, and focus on just that habit. And then week 2, kept doing that habit and added another. So by the end of the month, you have 4 new habits. And it's as simple as that. We've had people, I've done this one other time, and I had people lose 6 to 8 pounds in a month by just doing one habit at a time. That just kind of simplifies it. I have this on my fridge because I'm like working really long days. So it just reminds me to take the time to also take care of this, because I can't be of help to anyone else unless I'm healthy and happy and well adjusted. So feel free, these go home with you, and the little keychains go home with you.
I love them. All right, so and we were something to diet, and that's exactly how I feel. There's no magic diet. There's no, oh, you're gonna do keto now, and then you're gonna do paleo, and then you're gonna do this, and there's so much confusion out there. Honestly, like anything works if you stick with it, but the problem is people don't stick with it. And so the better answer is to change your lifestyle, because doing these yo-yo diets where you get on the diet and then you lose the weight and then you get off of it and then you gain all the way back or more, and then like you're just having too many swings. And in my view, focusing on protein is more important, and of course decrease unnecessary carbs, like stop eating like extra cake, and nobody says don't eat cake, but like maybe not so much. And then maybe focus on increasing the fiber, which again ties into the microbiome conversation, because our microbiome needs fiber to be healthy and to thrive, so that it decreases the gut inflammation and upregulate those GLP receptors that regulate your hunger. So it's all connected. And then of course avoid processed food. And if people would just stick with home cooked meals and not grab the quick processed food, I think I've had a lot of patients that just cutting back on of course chips,
Anything in
I will like just eat regular food.
If it doesn't grow, swim, or grow from the ground, then you shouldn't be eating it on a regular basis.
Yeah. And then of course cut back or eliminate alcohol. That is really bad for your liver. And then add some vitamins and
Can I add something? I love this because my thing is I'm not a fan of any diet that eliminates entire food groups. So I may not be the vegetarian's favorite person when I say that, or carnivore, but we were designed to take in many nutrients. We can't get a multitude of nutrients, which without having all the food groups in our diet. and I'll give you a great example of this, and he would hate me if he knew I was saying this, but I have an orthopedic, he's injection genius. He does my cortisone in my knees and stuff, but he's very overweight, the Indian guy, and he's a vegetarian, and he's obese. And so in there, getting my injection, he's literally trying to sell me on becoming a vegetarian. And I was like, you know, so I mean, not just looking a certain way, but you could also tell like he moved slow, he was very sluggish and unhealthy. And I didn't say a word because he's also the type of person you can't tell anything to you. But if you eliminate whole food groups, you're going to be missing vital nutrients. And, we hear a lot about protein, and protein's so important, but we also need to have a variety of, like, you need color.
Right.
Colorful vegetable, a fruit a day can be very beneficial. So those antioxidants and everything. So just these elimination diets are short-term fixes and rarely ever work for anybody.
And I think also to add to that, if you do some elimination diet, let's say you're allergic to something.
That's a whole different problem. Yeah.
So now you eliminate it completely. So when you encounter it, you're gonna have more of a reaction. So like microdosing might be better than eliminating altogether. So that's
what's different? Is vitamin D the same as D3 or like
so vitamin D has different forms. D3, D2, one better absorbed than the other. Like ultimately, I don't know that it has a big impact whether you take D3 or D2. I think the bigger concept is that most people are very low. And that's because we don't spend enough time outdoors, because maybe our diet doesn't have enough vitamin D. So I recommend supplementing vitamin D to most patients. Again, like normal levels are 30 to 100. Most people that I test are in the 20s. I tested myself when I was 10. I was like,
oh my God.
Like, that's really low.
D3 is something that all year, in the winter.
Right. So on a daily basis, agreed. So one of the things where if it's normal, I would still supplement it because it has such a good impact on sleep and muscle. So I don't know that I go by, oh, it's low, then I need to supplement it.
Like does your body just excrete?
It does, yeah. So it also helps with right. Yeah, it also helps with bowel function. It helps with brain health. It just has so many benefits. These are my like staple things. It helps with yes, it helps with more like calcium, magnesium, like together. It helps with joints and bone. Yeah. And like with vitamin D, you can go too high, but like that being said, I've never met a person that is over 100. So although you're like, oh, I might be taking too much, in theory that's possible. Practically, it doesn't happen. But if you have too much, then that can weaken your bones. So you got to be a little, I guess, careful there. But again, I've never encountered anybody more than 100. I think I had somebody in the 90s, which I was like, wow, I'm impressed. What are you doing? But never above the limit.
I typically have people start with 1,000 IUs. If I haven't seen their blood work, usually I look at their blood work first, assess, and then decide on the amount.
No, it's a specific test that your doctor needs to do. Yeah.
So they won't just do.
I'm actually a little more aggressive on the vitamin D just because I've seen so many low level that 1,000 just doesn't cut it.
Yeah.
And so I go at a minimum 2,000, but my kind of like default is 5,000.
Yeah.
Just because again, daily. Yeah, just because again, like in my experience and What's that?
I was taking the.
Well, they didn't do anything.
She was tracking.
It didn't?
Okay, so.
You were taking like 500 a day?
I don't know.
Okay.
I just know.
So some people need a really high dose. So if it's like, let's say if you have 10, like I did once,
You gotta eat so much dairy this year, like.
you can, yeah. But I think you're not gonna get that same amount from dairy. Like, I mean, it's good to eat that, but I think you need to supplement if it's really low. So you could do a 50,000 IU weekly, which will help you kind of balance. So, but that's a prescription, so it wouldn't be over the counter. All right, so as far as other supplements, especially for appetite control, I've had some experience with Amerisate, which is a hops extract, which has a natural GLP. It's similar to the Ozempic and the uh, there's a peptide kind of compounds, but they're natural. Berberine with appetite control.
I'm a huge fan of berberine.
Mhm.
Berberine has been life changing for me.
I'm a fan of multivitamins. I used to be against vitamins, to be honest. Like when I was a young doctor. I've been 10 years in practice now, and I just realized our food is, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but it's crap. It's just we don't get enough nutrients from our diet, and I think we need to supplement. And we already talked about vitamin D and magnesium, protein, focus on protein. And you don't have to like technically use the protein powders. You can get the proteins from meat or plant foods or, but just as a side note, I think most people under consume protein, especially women. Like we're like, oh, how do I get again bulky or whatever. It's not, we consume way too less protein.
Always saying when I go somewhere, I think protein and vegetables first, like protein first. And then that's what in this age group, we tend, that's not everyone, tend to not metabolize starches as well. So I think it's important for the majority of women and men in their 50s and 60s especially, to limit starchy carbs, especially towards the end of the day when we don't need high doses of energy.
Right.
So I think it's very helpful. And then with regard to protein powder, I'm a fan of eating food first. So, and then that's a backup later. Like if you can't eat within an hour window after your workout, I think protein powder is crucial because it's important to refuel with protein carbs after a workout. So like not even just protein powder, like protein powder in a fruit or something that has a nice combination of the both.
Yeah. So I did a little experiment
Yeah.
because well, what would it be to eat all that? Let's say at least 100 grams, but more like with say 150 grams of protein a day. So I was like, well, let me ask ChatGPT because I can't come up on my own with like this. You need to eat a lot of meat.
Yes.
So it might not be either in the budget or it might not be, maybe you don't like certain types of meat, so then you're like tired of eating chicken all the time. So like that's when some of these proteins come to the rescue, in my opinion. But by all means, that's just by all means, meat and anything that has protein. I mean, you'd be surprised protein and things that you wouldn't expect. Ask ChatGPT, he'll tell you.
I do nutrition programs. Some people it's part of their membership here. And when I do nutrition programs, I do them very differently than I come from the bodybuilding background where everything's very stringent. And so I do a flex plan, which is macronutrient based, for everyone that works with me. And so you would have, okay, need 4 ounces of lean protein at this meal, 6 ounces at this meal. Here's a list. So you have some flexibility and it's family friendly. 2 cups of vegetables, you have a list. So it doesn't have to be difficult. It just, you have to be mindful about ensuring that you're constantly taking in a protein source every time you're consuming food.
And again, it could be as the easiest habit forming. So like you visualize, what does that mean? You know, well, that means maybe like this much protein and like
Yeah.
a couple,
Exactly.
2 cups of veggies. So like, it might be difficult or different in the beginning, but like once you form that habit, it's gonna be like, okay, well, that's my routine. So
Another thing that people in general, not just this age group, is healthy fat. Oh, we get our protein, we get our veggies, but what is the hormonal mover? It's healthy fats.
right.
It's a hormone balancing. So that means taking fish oil as a supplement definitely helps, but we're talking avocado, small portions of nuts. So if you don't have that portion control, you get the 100-calorie pack. Oil, like avocado oil, things like that. And a lot of, especially women, don't like to add that to their food because it's like, oh, add so many more calories and doesn't have a lot of taste. It does give your food flavor though, and you will tend to eat less when you incorporate those things. So just be mindful of that.
And I think society has vilified fats, like,
Yeah.
It's such a, oh, I'm gonna eat a whole egg because it's got, I feel like that's a little too much. I think and it's science has proven that actually it's okay to have saturated fats and it's okay to have small amounts of butter and it's okay to have whole eggs. So I'm glad that society is kind of coming back to, the common sense and like, eating how it used to be in the past. So, all right, just quickly, one slide about sleep and stress reduction. I think that's very important. I don't go much into it, but I think without sleep, your metabolism is just not gonna be the same. So, all right. Moving on to some of the hormone replacement therapy. So there's a lot of options, and I think what I want you guys to get out of this is that hormones by themselves don't make you lose weight. They don't really address the obesity, but there's so many benefits of incorporating hormones into your overall treatment. It helps with hot flashes if you're menopausal, night sweats, mood swings, increased libido, protects against bone loss, osteoporosis, protects against cardiovascular health. It has so many benefits, and it's better to start is within 5 years of menopause. So it's one of these things where, like, if you're 10 years out from menopause, it might be slightly too late, but at the same time, there's other things that can be done to compound on that, like making sure that you're not losing bone, and if you have already cardiovascular disease, making sure that that doesn't get worse. I didn't put anything there about breast cancer, but that's a whole like separate talk. But essentially, the Women's Initiative study, Health Initiative study, scared everybody with breast cancer, which they used the wrong estrogen and progestin, and the studies were not analyzed properly. So they came back almost like a decade or more later and say, oh, by the way, actually doesn't cause breast cancer. So I feel like a lot of women missed out on good hormonal treatment. So now, like, thankfully, like, people are talking about it, and women are less scared of being on hormones. but yeah, so hormones include estrogen, so estradiol, which is the main hormone, progesterone, testosterone for women. I feel like that is not talked about enough. Testosterone can help with maintaining muscle mass or helping to put on muscle. Um, it helps with libido, cognitive um, benefits. DHEA is another pre-hormone. It's an over-the-counter supplement that you can take to like help with boosting all these um, natural hormones. Yeah.
All institutions that will, your insurance company that will pay for the testosterone or hormone replacement therapy for women.
I have not.
No.
I have not. Okay, so how about like they don't even pay for testosterone in men who have declining levels because they consider it as a natural, decline. So they're not going to pay for it.
Feel necessary, but they'll be
Yeah.
that's return. That's
They will.
and that's perfect fine.
I know it's.
I was just curious if you knew a loophole or a way to get your insurance and pay for it.
I have not found it.
No.
No.
I mean, it's not,
It's not, that's what I'm saying. It's really not that expensive, and I mean, it's like maybe you just have less Starbucks in a month there. I don't
yeah,
know.
mine lasts forever. I think it's like 50 something dollars.
Yeah.
No, $50. I'm transdermal
Yeah, I'm sure.
cream.
You don't need a smart phone.
You would do. You
Yeah.
do. It's actually a controlled substance, so it's
Yeah.
very tightly regulated. So I can't just like call it in or something. It's like it has to go on a very strict monitoring prescription system. So
So they're all, everybody's going to be different. So you'll have people who do the pellets. I don't do pellets because I am very sensitive to hormones. So I have to be able to monitor my own hormone intake. I can't do that if I have a pellet. So I think,
you said what is a pellet?
yeah,
So a pellet is like a little tiny, almost like a tablet of testosterone or estrogen it can be, and it's put in under your skin basically.
Yeah.
And so it slowly dissolves
Yeah.
and slowly releases small amounts of testosterone or estrogen or whatnot.
But if you're hormone sensitive, you need to change your dosage according to like how you're feeling or what's going on. Like with me, it's my joints. Like I can tell when I've had too much of certain thing or too little. Then I just adjust because I have a estrogen patch, testosterone cream, and a progesterone pill.
Yeah, I feel like that's a better way to do it than the pellets for exactly the same reason, because you can easily, it's more control. Yeah, and then also you can titrate the dose. So you put a certain amount. Okay, well, we need to monitor that with your labs and say, okay, well, did that have the increased effect that I was looking for? And if it did, great, continue the same dose. If it didn't, maybe increase the dose. Or, like we can easily adjust up and down based on your labs.
I mean,
So,
the biggest thing is to find one person you trust, and I'm sure that Hella would talk to you after if you have an interest, but like once you decide, okay, this is the person that I'm gonna trust, you gotta cut out all the new face.
Yeah.
Because everybody's gonna be like, well, I do this, and
yeah,
there's no one thing for any one person, just like nutrition and supplementation. There's no one acumen that is for everyone.
yeah. And if you are not ready for testosterone or estrogen or any of that, you can also start with DHEA, which is over the counter, and it's a pre-hormone to all these other hormones. And that alone could, help with libido. It could help with vaginal lubrication and energy. So again, maybe you're not ready to go full on hormones, but that will be a starter. And you have to also consider some of the side effects. So like you might start having some acne, some extra body hair. So like not everybody is, but again, like that ties into the dose. So if you're overly, if your dose is like very high, then you're gonna have more side effects. So it's a balancing act. It really is. So and nobody is gonna be able to get it right. I shouldn't say nobody. I'm just saying like it's no doctor is going to be like, well, your level is going to be this. Like everybody's metabolism is different, you know, they take other things. So it really is you know, dose and check the labs. So
We have an example of like how different people are.
Yeah, so she asked me, she was talking about that. So I had hysterectomy at 37. And so they tested my hormones prior to the hysterectomy. And then I've been on biotin, which is a pellet since then. I'm like I swear by it now. Michaela is my doctor, so she doesn't take my pellets because I actually live 30 minutes north of Frederick. So, but I've been on fire, like I said, since my hysterectomy. I had a 37 and a 45. I started with Stacy because I wanted my goal is to bodybuild. So when I was working out really hard, the pellet is cardiovascular. So I do this wearing out faster. My pellet is 3 months. I get injected back in about every 3 months and then put it in my leg bungee. So I asked them to pump up my testosterone so that it would not grow. Well, then I stopped. And you can tell the big difference as soon as you check me. My testosterone was like 10. Like I'm at 380. I was in some hundreds. And they just tested my fiance and he was 580 or something like that. So I'm about and there are days where I can feel something. That being said, like if I work out hard for Stacy, I don't feel that testosterone as much because of the way I do.
Like the accent, yeah. And it's what's interesting is like she's at 300 some, I'm at 8. And that's taking testosterone every day.
yeah.
But I build muscle like that. So like I don't need I've been at 0 my whole life. And with intensity, muscle, like that, or just like that natural. So everybody's completely different. So if I can tell when mine gets above 10, because my joints hurt. And it's weird, it's just a very unique, and I'm very sensitive to hormones. And so then I have to take it back down.
And that's funny that you're saying it's age 10. So most women, the high level is around 50, like the physiological range. We're not talking about like supplementing, but like most women are like in the 20s to 50s, let's say, as you go through menopause and go, you know, like as you get older, your levels drop. And so it could be dropping to, let's say, 20s or 15s or whatnot, and they feel awful. They have no libido. Their marriage is going bust because they are just not in the mood. And it's funny to see
So different.
your level is 8, and
And
you
I feel great.
that's, you know, that's
If I
what
was at 300, I'd be in bed. No, like I couldn't, I get up to 12 and my joints hurt. Like it's for me, for whatever reason, mine have to be lower to be well and healthy and vibrant.
And there you have it. One size is not
So different.
Yeah.
My whole testosterone, and I was like, you need to cut back. I was like, I don't know get any difference. Like,
Yeah.
because I've been in this times.
Yeah. So I just want to briefly, like even for men, testosterone, it just makes them happier, they're more confident, increases muscle mass. You know, it completely changes their life. And off of testosterone, I mean, I'm not saying every man should be on testosterone. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like as we age, their level goes down and they start getting this big belly and they have no muscle, and I don't know, it just feels awful.
Yeah.
So it completely changes their lives. So, now I wanted to touch a little bit about the GLP medications for weight loss. I know Stacey is not a big fan, and I'm not a big fan of the like normal doses, what you would see in like what's advertised on TV. I'm more of a microdosing kind of person because I've seen it work, and Stacey takes care of very well motivated people that show up to the gym and I see the opposite. I see people who don't want to exercise, they don't want to cut back on what the crap that they're eating. They don't want to do anything. And they're 400 pounds, or they're 300 pounds, or maybe they're like, I don't know, maybe they're like 160, and they just need a little something to keep them motivated. In other words, it almost seems to improve their mental response to weight loss because they're like, oh my God, this is actually working. And then they get motivated and then they like start working out and they're like, okay, well, now I'm gonna do the diet. So it just has that kind of like a boost of, oh wow, okay, it's working. That's a picture of me actually. I can't say that I needed to really do the GLP, because I could very much easily cut back on the ice cream that I had, or maybe, start working out. But I wanted to try it to tell people what you want to, this is what to expect, I mean, it certainly has side effects. So like I wouldn't just tell anybody to get on it without like actually going through their medical history and making sure it's appropriate for them. But again, I'm a fan of microdosing and people who just can't get it together with just diet, exercise, and all the things that we talked about. And then this is one of my patients, and he very much mirrored what I just said, that he was working out, but he was only seeing like small changes, maybe like half a pound. But like once the GLPs were added on, it was a game changer for him. He ended up losing 55 pounds, but he's very strict. He tracked all the food. He very much focuses on protein. He eats right. He goes to the gym. He lifts, like heavy weight. He's doing all the things that should be done. There's this is not a magic pill like, oh, just take this and you'll end up like that. No, like this guy put really hard work into it. So it's one of these things where, and he was saying like it really helped me stay motivated to keep going back to the gym because I was seeing results. So
This is facial expression.
yeah, it really does. I just saw him actually a couple days ago, and this is like the most recent picture, really. It's like, oh, I'm going to be swimming. It's like now in the winter, it's not so pleasant outside because he was running outside. He's like, no, I swim like he's like I swim a mile 6 times a week. I'm like, damn, that's good. So.
How does the motivation on a treadmill, which is
How does it what?
right, just
Oh yeah.
how does that compare to somebody who's that or like?
It's similar. It's similar. They are doing the same thing. These are GLP so they're like acting on the receptors that keep you full. They control your appetite, they control your hunger, they control your glucose response to insulin. So they work. The problem is that as soon as you get off of them, you're going to have an increased appetite and then your weight is going to come right back. So then it's like, well, what's the point of doing the medicine? Because you can't be on it for the rest of your life. So you have to do these things. The medication will not just magically make you like that,
So is my dosing like 3 milligram dose of that? Is that?
Won't even get to 3 milligrams. So
But more often, they're trying, the main reason for it is to
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, for diabetes, I mean, it really works. It really lowers your A1C. It improves your insulin sensitivity. Now actually, yeah, so it actually has been proven to improve kidney and heart issues. So it's been approved in kidney disease associated with diabetes and also heart failure. So there's a lot of benefits, and I think we're going to see more studies coming. Yeah, these medications have been in use since 2005. So it's nothing like, oh, it just came on the market and now there's all this, they've been really studied for a long time.
Just a hot.
Yeah, because it worked. So you could lose 15%, or some of them, the tersipeptide, you can lose 20%. There's another one that is not yet on the market, it's even higher. So, but the problem is also you lose muscle, which is against what you want to do. So that's why it does. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So,
I mean, there's nothing, like, there's no magic.
yeah, absolutely. So this guy, ended up actually, he lost 3 pounds of muscle. He has this like fancy scale. So he lost 3 pounds of muscle on the semaglutide. So I added, because he's also like his testosterone levels were really low. So I added testosterone and now he's finally putting on muscle despite working out, right? Like he was still losing muscle. So it's really hard. Muscle is metabolism, muscle is key. So like anything you do, just maintain that muscle. Um, okay, so basically key takeaway that our hormones combined with our lifestyle of processed food and aging have a really big impact on our health and obesity and chronic disease. And the time to do something about it is in your 40s and 50s. Building muscle should be the priority. Optimizing hormones, obviously, and then you can use the GLP and GIP medications to help you achieve greater results if needed. I mean, I'm not saying everybody should be on this. I'm just saying it's an added tool, just like, all these are tools in a toolbox. So pretty much I think that's all I have. So I don't know if you guys have any questions.
Yeah, let's open it up for questions.
So I've done a lot of in my entire life, because I always had my ex-husband's like, you have more blood work than I'm doing anybody else my entire. She does an actual, what are they, the amino acids. I've never had anybody run amino acids.
So the amino acids, so basically, well, I'm more of a in the mindset of longevity and optimizing health. So for me, it's not like, oh, let's check your CBC, CMP, like the typical things. Like, okay, let's go extra step and figure out like what's actually happening. So we did insulin panel to figure out if she's insulin resistant. We did all the hormones. We did the thyroid and all that. And then in addition, I wanted to do a amino acid panel just because I wasn't sure. She was saying like, she eats a lot of right, like you get pretty much a good amount of meat, but she's gluten free, if I remember correctly. So I'm just trying to send labs that are tailored but also comprehensive. So I think she had a couple amino acids that were on the low side despite eating protein. So yeah, and then there's of course like some even more fancy labs that I can do which are not covered by insurance. That include your microbiome and include there's a whole and I haven't done that for you, Stacy, because again, these are not cheap. But they're even more comprehensive where they can tell you every nutrient in your body, is it optimal, is it not optimal? It's a lab called Vibrant Wellness, and they ship everything to your house, and you prick yourself and you kind of squeeze a few drops of blood in that, and it goes to the lab, and it takes about 2 or 3 weeks. But I feel like if you get a lot of information about your nutrients, because could be, let's say, deficient in glutamine, or like some amino acids that you end up eating, but maybe you're just not, it's not enough. So yeah, absorption, different
So when
things.
I look at people's blood work, I generally look at functional ranges, and the doctors really, in general, are only looking at your general practitioners, only looking at disease. So they are going to take an action until you're already in a disease range. So when I look at blood work, I look at functional ranges. And so if your cholesterol is, 200 or 198 or 190, still high. You need to get that down before it does become a problem, because there's something in your lifestyle that is creating that to go up every year. And I think
Yeah, for me,
valuable information.
yeah, for me, some of the cholesterol gets a little kind of controversial, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want to touch on it real quickly, because cholesterol by itself, it's not very dangerous, because you need cholesterol for all your hormones. It's incorporated in every cell of your body. So it's not so much the enemy, but it's the particles that are the problem. And so you have these like small particles and medium particles, large particles, and what happens is they get oxidized and they get stuck also in the arterial wall, which then causes plaque and then inflammation, and then eventually leads to heart disease or peripheral vascular disease, and all these things. So, and there's all sorts of other markers of cardiovascular disease that are, and I test for those, like lipoprotein little a, which if it's very high, then you can do a lot of things, but it's a genetic marker that should tell you that you should really be very aggressive with your lipid lowering, and maybe even getting on a statin, although there's not a lot of people who are a fan of statins, and it's getting a lot of, but like in certain situations where you're see your labs are like, oh my God, like this level is so high, because my genetic background is such that I could do everything perfect and I still will be at risk. So those are the kind of things that I look at. And yeah.
Any other questions?
Getting back to supplements,
Yeah.
do you have a thought on supplementing with like urine, your day, support?
I don't use that particularly, no. Yeah.
There's a company now, you use called Timeline,
Okay.
and they do a supplement.
Okay.
I didn't do so.
Yeah.
I don't even have thoughts on that.
I've not really encountered that, so no. I mean, I'm not saying I'm against it. I just don't know
Yeah.
enough about it. I've never heard of it. So, but I have to look that up now.
My nutrition.
Okay.
It's like, it's kind of like that. Nutrition side is chart.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I started. You can get to it.
Mhm.
And it really makes sense to me.
Okay.
But, and I don't know much about your and I know you can research. But I guess it's getting there's something.
Yeah.
Well, everything else.
I'll have to look into it. I did not come across that, no. So I think you had a question.
Yeah, so I'll get it. Right. And it's just sincere.
Well, you're in your past period. So there's two major reasons, but
They just takes you by surprise.
yeah, I would try some magnesium first, and then I would try some of that new salt, which is a potassium salt. So I would try that first on. If that doesn't just 1 second, if that doesn't fix it, then you may want to check your circulation. Sometimes
there's blockages in our arteries that it cause pain. I know that. Okay.
Yeah, it sounds more of an electrolyte issue. Yeah.
When you work out, you have electrolytes in your water. You should always, everybody should have electrolytes in their water before, during, and after workout. So I take a big hydro flask and I put airborne electrolyte in it, and then I take it before, during, and after. I've never had issues with any kind of vamping or anything, so. Right.
Before, but I do have it.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
you sweating a lot during,
Sweating?
yeah, no?
Other than leaving that,
Yeah.
So there are different kind of magnesiums.
Mhm. Right, so there's, the most commonly prescribed is magnesium oxide, which is not very good. It's not very well absorbed and it doesn't, so it makes you go to the bathroom, so that's one of the side effects. And so there's magnesium glycinate, threonate, citrate. Max citrate is probably not what you want for repleting your magnesium because that's more again to like help you go. So like you can use different forms of magnesium to kind of help you achieve what you want. So I actually take something called Macplex, which has a few of the combinations. I think it's threonate, glycinate, if there's some other ingredient in that.
What is it called?
Macplex.
Macplex. Thank you.
Yeah, so,
I do magnesium that has 3 different.
Yeah. Yeah.
magnesium.
yeah, just because they don't get absorbed well, so
That's
you really.
exactly. So you don't know when they say magnesium, you don't know which
Right.
one to. Some have bad side effects. Some
Right,
are really good.
right.
Much.
Well, the major side effect is diarrhea. So if you're constipated,
Could be really good.
so that's what you need to figure out what your goal is for the day. But you know, generally you would take it at night. And I take it, I started with 1 twice a day, but now I take 2 in the morning and 3 at night. That's my regimen, but, so I take a lot of magnesium. So it's like one capsule, no, I take it in the morning, 2 capsules in the morning and 3 at night, but you gotta work way to that, like just to make sure it doesn't cause side effects. So, yeah, yeah.
So I've heard that you shouldn't go to your doctor and ask for wool panels. Yeah, I haven't done it for my doctor, you not bothering me.
Yeah.
Is that our practice for the shit having that?
I think it's a good practice to get your health in check, I mean, at least yearly. When you say a full panel, like those doctors will just keep the basics, so you have to push them. Just like Stacy was saying, like, these days, like doctors focused on the disease portion. Oh, what's, it's not bad, therefore, let's not. Like they don't push themselves to catch these people in this preventative phase. And so when you go to doctor and say, do you mind running, make sure that I don't have diabetes, make sure my thyroid is fine, you run my hormones, can you, run my, like the simple like C2C, sleep, like there's, and then the lipids, I mean, there's just a lot of things that insurance, to be quite blunt, insurance, because insurance companies come to you, to the doctor and say, oh, well, we're not gonna pay for this, we're not gonna pay for that, we're not gonna pay for that, so our brain is already like trained, we're not gonna do that, because they're not gonna pay for it, and then they're gonna get this huge bill. And then they think I'm the devil, or, the bad person. Insurance, if you really want to blame anything in this country, blame insurance, because that has really screwed up, the way we practice. And, I also think, I think about insurance as, and I'm sorry, I'm behind you, I think about insurance as, it's nice to have it for the catastrophic things.
Yes.
But you're not gonna use your insurance if you have a car and have a little fender bender. right? Because your deductible is gonna go up, or if something happens in your house. But we don't have the same mindset with health. Oh, they have to pay for everything, otherwise I'm not gonna do it. Why do we think like that? We're talking about our health here. Like, why can't we invest in ourselves and be like, you know what, if they can pay for it, that's fine, I'll just pay for it out of pocket because it's more important that I'm healthy. And then,
Well, and oftentimes the prices of blood work and everything else are jacked up by
oh, totally right.
5,000% when it is, run on your insurance. I have to pay out of pocket for my blood work because I don't want to deal with the insurance.
Tell me,
And it's
Stacy,
much
how much is a CBC?
Oh, how much does it cost?
Yeah,
I don't even know.
it's literally $3.
Like it's.
But insurance charges you, like, yeah, if you go to have like a few things,
Yeah.
they're gonna be way jacked up.
So if
they're
you're,
gonna still out of
if you're paying
pocket.
out of pocket, you're gonna end up
Yeah,
paying much less overall and getting more information about what is going on inside of the body.
so, if I actually use insurance for patients who have insurance, and if they don't have insurance, then I can just send them to the same lab, which is Quest, where they, charge them, whatever cash price is, but if they have insurance, great, I'm gonna use their insurance. However, if they say, well, my deductible just reset, it's like, well, then you decide, you tell me, you wanna pay, $1,000 towards your deductible, and then, that kind of chips away at your deductible for the year. Or if you don't wanna do that, then maybe we can just do a cash price, maybe it's costing you $200. So it's all different based on the situation. So I'm sorry, one thing.
You said, yeah, you would be.
I would, yeah. I mean, okay, listen. I see so many sick people in the hospital. I'm 40, oh geez, I'm gonna be 45 this year. Uh, but at age 40, I decided to have a colonoscopy because I'm seeing so much colon cancer at this little hospital in Colombia. It's ridiculous. And so, oh my God, stage four colon cancer. So I was like, I'm not having that. So I went and I said, I want a colonoscopy. Now 45 is the age anyway, but I'm being proactive. If there's something that I can do about it, I will do it. And then, yeah. And then on a, personal side note, I also want to share that I'm taking testosterone, and I'm not only like estrogen yet because I'm not menopausal, but testosterone has changed my life. I mean, maybe it's I don't know. For me, so maybe TMI, and so I'm a little shy talking about it, but like the sexual life has really improved because you end up having, like dryness, and you're like, not in the mood, and then your partner's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "Nothing, I'm good." And he's like, "No, you're not good." So, but I'm, like from my perspective, I'm good, but his
Right.
perspective is like, "No, you're not." So then I got on testosterone, and it's just a little cream every day, and it just made the biggest difference. So, it's yeah.
Well, I wanna,
Oh, one more question.
Right, so if we were to remove interest, what would you recommend we ask?
I would say to ask for a comprehensive analysis of your health, and that includes your most basic studies you do anyway. You see your metabolic panel, your lipid panel, urinalysis, but they don't have the so you can ask them for the hormones in addition to that. Since you're supposed to also pregnancy. Well, they don't test for testosterone. Like most doctors don't even like if it's all like your menopausal. Okay, well you can get your estrogen and progesterone, which is gonna be low, because of menopause. Your FSH, LH, they're gonna be high because you're having menopause. So they're not gonna bother checking because they know it's low. But you can check the DHEA level, you can check the testosterone level. And so if you're, really low, then there's benefits on supplementing. Then if you're
having, you know. But I mean, again, it's personal choice whether you can get on hormones for like estrogen and progesterone and things like that. Also depends on how long you've been in menopause. You know, the most benefits are in the beginning, like 5 years. So, but I don't know how far out you are. I'm 70, so. Well, yeah, but it's still benefits of, you know, making sure that your cardiovascular disease, your bones not getting worse. So, it's all about, muscle mass, and so testosterone might help with that. So there's just a lot of, things that they can still check. Yeah.
I want to honor the time frame. So what we're going to do quickly, I'd love if Mahela would talk about what she does in her clinic. And then I'll talk just briefly about what we do here. And then what we'll do is close, but both of us will be here for the next, 20 minutes or so to answer questions. And please partake in food and drinks because it's all there. Like you can take it home if you want.
So, briefly, basically, I don't take insurance, but I'm more than happy to see everybody on a consultation basis for a wellness, kind of check. And I look into all the labs that, I go a little beyond your typical, doctor and, I do like advanced lipid panel. So if you just get a lipid panel, you're not gonna get the particles, lipoprotein little a, like all the like nitty gritty, cholesterol, stuff. And then, for people who have it in their budget, I go the extra step and do the microbiome testing, which I find fascinating. And I think it, really helps you understand, well, is your microbiome diverse or not diverse enough? And then you can build up on that and say, okay, well, I need fermented foods, or I need to take a probiotic, or, increase my veggie intake and things like that. So, yeah, in a nutshell, I can do a lot of those, wellness, type of visits. And of course, I do Botox and I do fillers and I do laser and I do weight loss and, hormones and, things like that. So a little bit of everything. Where are you located? I'm actually in, Columbia, right by the hospital. So if you know the hospital, there's this little building next to it. So I'm right there. Yeah. So you guys should follow my Instagram and then, take a card.
And here, I mean, it's multi-layered. So here, if you do nutrition with us, I take a look at all that blood work. And I assess based on that blood work, what your supplement needs are, what your nutritional needs are. And that's based off blood work, your personal goals, your lifestyle and beyond. When we do small group personal training, we also offer one-on-one, but mostly small group, which is between 3 and 6 people in a group, but it's not a class. So everybody has a one-on-one coach. Everybody has a fitness app that's customized for them. So they have a summary of exactly what they're supposed to do every day of the week that they're not with us. They have a one-on-one coach that they can contact anytime. So it's basically personal training with a small group price point. And so we have different plans, once, twice, 3 times and 4 times per week. And, based on your budget, you can decide what's best for you. And I think I went through like how the sessions work. But we also, I'm really focused, my investment lately has been on our recovery room and our analysis. So I just purchased a Seika medical body analysis machine. It will be, as soon as I get the software all set up and pay them even more money. It will be set up this week. It is an amazing machine. And you've heard of the in-body machine, right? Hold on. Most of the gyms have that. This is a step beyond that. It gets your height. It gets exactly how much visceral fat you have around the organs, how much subcutaneous fat, how symmetrical your musculature is, all that good stuff. So it's an amazing machine. I think it's 6 to 8 pages of data. Where like an in-body, you get 1 page of data. So I'm really excited about that. I also got a 3-person infrared sauna with chronotherapy. And so that's red light therapy, blue light therapy. And you know the benefits of red light therapy. Like that's another like one DLP, the hot topic right now. So you can go in there and actually get complete, like I have one of those red lights, just the face, which I never use because I'm, not going to sit in front of it long enough to get the benefit. But in there, you can go in there, get the red light therapy and stretch and, move around. And I got that too. I have Raynaud's disease, so I have really limited circulation. And so in the winter and stuff, it's really good, especially for those of us that have limited circulation as we get older. A lot of people do have, a reduction in circulation, even when they exercise. But exercise is crucial for anybody who has that low circulation. So anyway, that's what we do here. There are pamphlets up there on the bench if you'd like to grab one. Like I said, everybody grab a habit tracker and a keychain if you like. And we are here to answer any questions you might have. I'm just going to turn the music on and enjoy yourself.